I'm kneeling here in front of one of my swales. I did all the surveying last year, and last fall I went ahead and dug the ditches on contour, placed all the material downslope as a nice loose berm, and immediately after, it was late fall, so immediately after I planted an annual rye, which you can see some of it here, and alfalfa. Now I had a tough time getting that stuff to germinate because it was so late into the season. And another problem I ran into is that the berms, the slope on the berms, they quickly eroded. So I ended up, so this spring, this early spring, when I went ahead and planted the downslope berms with all my trees and shrubs and my ground cover mixture, I ended up needing to add some compost, seed it, plant all the trees and shrubs, and then add a light layer of mulch to hold the moisture, and then also to help with the germination. This is the swale side of the berm. The ditch on contours right here. Now it's not particularly deep, as you can see. It was actually very deep when I dug it, but I ended up filling it in with organic material. I've since added leaves and branches, and anytime I'm chopping and dropping anything, I just throw everything in the ditch. But I've dug down, and there's a tremendous amount of moisture just beneath there, so we're already starting to collect lots and lots of water, recharge that water table. Initially, I was careful to plant my trees and shrubs in the appropriate placement on the berms. For example, the stuff that really likes the moist conditions, I planted towards the bottom of the berm. The stuff that prefers much more well-drained or drier conditions, I planted towards the top. And then most of the things were towards the middle. Initially, the trees and shrubs need a little bit of help getting established, so it's really important that you plant in the early spring before the rains come, so that way they can have a good amount of rain to get established. Once they're established after a year or two, the roots are going to be able to get deep enough to reach all this moisture that we're catching with the swales, and from then on out, they should be able to grab enough water to survive without additional irrigation. So this is the berm along one of my longer swales. There's a serviceberry planted there, there's some calendula, there's a PawPaw tree, there's some dill, there's Goumi, there's tons of calendula, there's Russian olive, there's serviceberry again, there's Nanking cherry, there's raspberries back there, blackberries, more Nanking cherries, Goumi. You can see some lamb's quarters, which I'll be using for the chickens. There's tons of alfalfa. You'll see a lot of annual rye through here. Annual rye I planted last year as a cover crop, and that's dying out now. You'll see some alder in through here. There's English walnut we're passing by. Here is where that's the level spillway. Some more serviceberries. I think that's Pluot, I believe. There's some Sassafras, there's a Hackberry there. There's a lot of Comfrey and false indigo. You can see tons of alfalfa. There's some Clover in there. There's Crabapple coming up here. There's a timber area up in each corner, which has a lot of oak and hickory and pine. This is the ditch side of one of the berms. You can see a plum, there's some milkweed, there's tons of dill, tons of alfalfa still. There's some peach trees in there, alder, Russian olive.